Boink. But Doink VR is the correct way to say it. To launch a new VR section on the Pornhub website, the site is offering free cardboard VR goggles for its users. I guess you order those and they come to you and you wash them down thoroughly and then you put them on your head. Anyway, so good luck, guys.
Yeah, I'm not going to wash my cardboard.
No, probably not. There's a lot of things to wash. But no, it's look, whatever. Everyone always talks about successful new technology, especially in the video spectrum, whether it be home video standards or television standards or broadcast standards. A lot of these things are sometimes informed by that particular wing of the industry. Why not VR? In fact, I'm surprised there isn't more going on yet. So, yeah, watch for that coming soon to a Pornhub near you.
I guess, does this mean cardboard is out to the early lead in the format war? I don't know. Israeli paper Yedioth Ahronoth reports that mobile forensics firm Cellebrite of Israel is the company helping the FBI unlock the iPhone 5C at issue in the case involving Apple. Ars Technica notes the FBI committed to a $15,278 action obligation with Cellebrite the same day it asked the court to vacate the hearing and issue a stay. Cellebrite has contracted with the FBI in the past, so that commitment could be unrelated. Thanks to Abituela Condolce for submitting this on the subreddit. This is not really anything that's going to be revelatory other than this is a forensics company. It seems like a likely company to be doing this. DriveSaver in California has said that they are actually fairly close to a similar solution, but they haven't got there yet. So it's a feather in Cellebrite's cap. But it does show that companies that worked with FBI were working on this, and Cellebrite seems to be the one that got there first.
You mentioned on TMS this morning during your tech segment that this is a company they've already contracted with in various ways. Another thing, it's not like they just looked them up on the web and said these guys might be good. So I don't know what
they didn't find them on Yelp and go, 5 stars. And again, Cellebrite supposedly contacted the FBI, which again, if they have lines of communication because they partner on things, and Cellebrite makes devices that the FBI licenses for unlocking things. So, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if they were, if lots of security companies that have connections to the FBI were working on this.
And just a quick note here, and just to ask your opinion on this, and I know this is going to come up a million times before any of this is over, or any of these fights or conversations about security and encryption are over, but do you, if they successfully do this for the FBI, then they've successfully done the thing the FBI was trying to compel Apple to do through lawful means. Does that then mean now that there's a way in there, there's essentially not a back door, but there's a way in outside of having Apple comply? That seems worse for everyone. In the, at least in the intellectual conversation about what this all means, like in the conversation of how secure is your stuff, how secure should it be, who's in charge of that. I don't want to get it's conspiratorial, but it feels like
I'm laughing because yesterday on the show, which I think you probably just missed that part, I said, now there are those of you out there who are saying this is worse for everyone. Let me explain why you're wrong.
Crap.
No, and that's just my take. I didn't actually say, let me explain why you're wrong. But to me, it's like there's always an arms race, right? No encryption is ever 100% secure. So all this means is that what I think should be happened, which is security companies are always looking for vulnerabilities. They found a vulnerability. And the FBI, here's the difference. The FBI has a warrant. So they're not asking Apple to subvert its own software. They're not doing something with metadata and secret courts. They are in the open saying, we have a warrant that says we get to break into this phone. And so we're going to, and they found a way to do it. Now, the part where I think you do have a concern is, it will Cellebrite now ethically hand over this vulnerability to Apple to say this is how we got in the phone, so that Apple knows what that vulnerability is.
That'd be interesting. I hadn't really considered that, but yeah. I don't know. The whole what a weird wild ride it is, and it ain't done yet. How about some news about Google announcing a removal of something? Hold on, weren't you just talking about them doing this? I think you were. Google announced it's removing its Chrome app launcher from Windows OS 10 and Linux in July. For those who don't know what this looks like, it looks like this little icon I have, which is like a little app launcher, and you click on that, and up comes Gmail and Red Bull TV and Moist, I think, or Mosty, or whatever that is. Anyway, you can create these sort of Chrome app sort of Chromebook style, Chrome OS style sort of launch pad for various Google services, and they're taking it out. Google says most Chrome users prefer to use launch apps from within Chrome itself. I would agree. I barely even touch that thing. This seems like a no-brainer to probably get rid of it, and I don't think anyone's going to complain in the way that they did about, you know, their newsreader or anything else like that. This is just a silly launcher. So
here's
goodbye.
the thing: when they launched this, the talk was, ooh, Chrome making a move to subvert the operating system, where it won't matter what operating system you use. If you have the Chrome browser, you can launch all your apps through the browser. And I mentioned at the time that was the dream of Netscape Constellation, which was a project in the late 90s that was going to do exactly the same thing. None of those dreams have ever panned out. I'm not saying one never will. We thought tablets were never going to catch on, and eventually they did once somebody figured out how to do it right. But it's not surprising to me that this didn't work out. And I sit there, I look at that little Chrome launcher in Windows all the time, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I got that little Chrome launcher. I actually have a little start menu back there, even, you know, back when the start menu was gone for a while. And I never used it. Yeah. I looked at it. I liked it. I always launched my apps from within the browser.
I'll tell you, when I briefly was experimenting around with Chromebooks, I used it all the time because it was the only way you could launch anything. But I assume.
Well, yeah, and it's sticking around on Chrome OS, so
sure.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Anyway, I you know, it's one of those things that did feel like a weird extra appendage, and it's where nobody's going to miss that extra finger. We only need 5.
Twitter is testing a new feature tentatively called Stickers that lets users attach custom images to photos before tweeting. Feature also lets users, quote, see how other users from around the world have edited the same photo. Which, if it's not a photo I took, then I guess, and suggests trending photos for users to edit. A Twitter spokesperson told Recode, we're always researching potential new ways to make Twitter more expressive. So this is meme creation. This is not like taking a photo of your dog and then putting it up.
Yeah, it also confirms a theory I had that Twitter's very interested in taking social, I don't know, meme tendencies and putting them into direct action on Twitter. They did it with GIF generation, and partnered with some GIF, you know, generators to do that very thing right there natively in their app web page. So I don't find this too surprising. And in a way, it's kind of, I don't know. I think this is them maybe finally embracing the fact of who they are. Like, this is them saying, this is what we get used for a ton. So we should probably support a lot of this stuff as natively as we can, so that it's simple for our users to do. And I have a confession to make. Just a little side note on Scott's tech use for the week. I finally decided to take a look at the iOS Twitter, the official Twitter app, and I haven't looked at it in I don't know how long. I've been using Tweetbot since really Tweetbot came about, and I thought, I wonder how this is over there right now. I heard about the algorithmic reordering of your feed, and I thought I should probably get at least a taste of that so I can talk about it. And a weird thing happened. I'm kind of converted to using it all the time now. Like, I kind of prefer it.
See, over the weekend, Twitter's official app stopped working for me.
Oh.
It kept hanging and locking up, which a few other people have reported as well. So I started using Twitterific, which I haven't used in years.
There you go. We're all over the map on this, but
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's fine. We'll see how it goes. Bring on the stickers, I suppose. After the Nikkei reported Nintendo would cease production on the Wii U sometime later this year. We all heard about that. Nintendo had something to say. The company told IT Media, quote, that's Nikkei's report, not an official announcement. We plan to continue production through the rest of the year, unquote. Now, we talked pre-show about how they basically just in different words said the exact same thing the report said.
Yeah.
Or at least they didn't say,
they're denying it's a non-denial denial. Dick Nixon would be proud. They're saying, I don't know, Nikkei's saying that. We plan to keep producing the Wii U through the rest of the year, which is what Nikkei said. Nikkei said Nintendo will stop producing the Wii U by the end of the year, which both statements can be true. Stopping it by the end of the year means you keep producing it possibly through the end of the year.
Yeah, rest of the year, end of the year, kind of the same thing.
I mean, if you stop producing the Wii U on December 31st, both of these statements are correct.
Yeah, I don't know. So an install base of 12.5 million devices, which is low if you were trying to compete in the crazy space that they're trying to compete in, the NX on the horizon. This shouldn't be a shock to anybody that they were to at least slow production. and have a kill date for when they're going to stop doing it because they've got new stuff on the way and they kind of want to put this particular slow generation behind them. So none of this is even news to me, except the fact that they're just being so cagey about it.
Well, this Patrick thinks this means the NX goes on sale this year, if this ends up being true, because you don't stop production. Obviously, you still have some in the channel. My thought was like, this must mean it's selling really slowly. And even if the NX doesn't come out till early 2017, they feel like they have enough inventory to last. But Patrick pointed out, they even kept producing the Wii after the Wii U came out. So it really is cutting their losses in that respect.
And I love my friend from France, but he's been trying to look for reasons for the NX to come out this year and be able to purchase it this year for a long time. So, Patrick, good luck with your bet. I still say you're wrong.
The Verge says it has learned Google has been developing a keyboard for iOS, one of those virtual keyboards. It would feature gesture-based typing, a Google logo that you could tap on to access search, and dedicated buttons for pictures and GIF searches. In other words, please use this Android-style keyboard on iOS so that we can have you using search more on mobile, because mobile search numbers have not been as good as we wanted them to be.
Sure. A lot of people like that keyboard. I actually would like to try it, so bring it on. Utah Republican caucus happened yesterday. Record numbers. Turns out, I live here, so I can speak to this a little bit. Anyway, it was the first to include an online voting system. It turned out more popular vote than people expected, with extreme traffic happening on the state's electoral website for around 90 minutes on Tuesday. Some people reported errors when trying to enter their votes as well. Utah Party Chairman James Evans said some of the issues had to do with people who thought they were registered but missed an email meant to confirm their identity. Both the Republican and Democratic caucuses in Utah faced problems with traditional voting as well because of high turnout. So to show a little comparison there. But yeah, there was a lot of talk about this yesterday, just overwhelming numbers on both sides of the aisle. For once in a very long time, as long as I've been alive, I feel like Utah kind of had an impact on the caucuses, and it was super interesting. But also to see, a real world test of some of this online voting stuff is interesting because, Tom, it's the future, man.
Almost the worst situation to test your online voting is to have a really popular primary election, or in this case, a caucus. Because at this point in the presidential elections here in the United States, for good or for ill, you usually have a pretty good idea who the front runner is and who's going to win. And, for various reasons we won't get into on this show, lots of people are still very interested, even though we have significant front runners on both sides of the aisle. So I can imagine when they first said, well, in 2 years, let's make the caucus online. Let's try it. Utah's a little late in the game. It shouldn't be too bad. We can handle the load. And then all of a sudden you get this record turnout. And they're like, oh, crap, we didn't load test for this. So you're going to have problems with the website. That's true of any launch of anything. Look at online gaming, for goodness sake. But then add to the fact that a lot of people unfamiliar with the typical processes of online systems, where you put in an email address and you get an email that says, hey, we saw you signed up. Click here to confirm that this is really you. Didn't click. And then they go back to vote on the day and it's like, you're not registered. And they're like, heck yeah, I am. I remember registering, but they didn't confirm their identity.
Yeah, it's part of the process they're not used to. But hey, why not sell tickets before The Force Awakens opens? And that we won't have any problems with that. There won't be overwhelming traffic. There won't crash servers or anything. Of course it does. Everything does. So yeah, I'm bullish on the future for this. And they just picked a really weird election to see how it would hold up. And maybe that's good. We got a good load test.
Finally, Dutch startup Blendle launched in the U.S. Wednesday in partnership with the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, The Economist, Financial Times, even the Huffington Post, which is free to read, and plenty of others. Blendle's app lets you pay per story and offers refunds if you don't like the articles. Refund on your clickbait. Blendle has 650,000 users in the Netherlands and Germany and is bullish on getting this amount of users in the United States. This is their big test, their big market. See if people will use an app where they're paying small amounts to read articles. Historical note, Scott. The term Blendle was coined on episode 561 of Buzz Out Loud on September 14th, 2007.
Oh, my.
Yeah,
we had some audio proof of this.
I have audio evidence. Here we go.
Henceforth, on Buzz Out Loud, refer to mashups as blend.
We could call them e-blends if you must.
A blendle.
Blendle.
Yep. Done.
Thank you.
And joining us to comment on that history-making moment 9 years ago, Jason Howell, host of Tech News Today.
How's it going, Tom? How's it going,
Good,
Scott?
man. Thanks for joining us.
Have you on. What a funny thing. Why this name was familiar to me, and I swear it's because I have this weird memory in the back of my head that you once coined the term blendle.
I completely forgot that I was the one that even mentioned it. I knew that it was a Buzz Out Loud term. This morning when I woke up and read the story, I was like, oh my God, somebody finally did something with Blendle. It became something. I completely forgot that I was the one that came out with it. But I like to think that it was a team effort, as everything was on Buzz Out Loud.
Well, yeah, I think if I remember right, we had decided that LE was going to be the new no val R. In a previous episode, so you were incorporating that, but yeah, until I went and tracked down the clip, thanks to the Buzz Out Loud wiki, which still exists.
Yes.
I couldn't remember which of us had coined it either. So congratulations.
Well,
I
thank
hope you're
you.
getting lots of royalties.
I will say at the very so basically in this particular episode we were talking about this was towards the beginning of the episode. I listened to the whole part on it. We were talking about a wine tasting social network that kind of didn't exist. You were saying we could combine information about wine and also like information about when wine is about to go bad. We'll mash it up into one service. And Molly just basically said she's sick of mashups. Mashups were huge in 2007, both from, well, I mean, primarily there were just music mashups all over the place. And you ended the segment by saying, we need to register Blendle.com right now. Now, had you registered Blendle.com, you may have made some money right now.
Yeah.
I registered Blendle.com.
So you let it lapse.
I let it lapse. These guys came emailing me a couple of years ago, said, hey, we think you own Blendle. It doesn't say who owns it. And I'm like,
that's funny.
I might still own Blendle. Let me look. I didn't. Sadly.
Dang it. You could have made a good, cool, I don't know, grand or something, whatever they pay for those things now. I don't
Could have
know.
been a contender, Tom.
Yeah, could have been. Anyway, good luck to the Blendle folks. I feel like they're our spiritual cousins because they're using the name.
No, totally.
I wonder how many people are going to use this. 650,000 in Europe ain't bad. It's not overwhelming. Also, as they point out in the Politico story, people in Europe more used to paying for content than in the United States, maybe. I don't know if that's true, but
I don't know. I feel like I'm ready for this. Like, if you're telling me these articles are an average of 9 cents a piece, and you're also being as transparent.
not an average. That's the cheapest one.
Okay, that's the cheapest. So whatever the range is, but you're saying to me, if you didn't like it, you can get a return. Like, I'm used to this with Steam and services I use already, where they offer me refunds for digital content that I either value or don't. And more often than not, I do, and I keep it, even if it's not perfect. I want to hang on to it. And I think they're banking on the fact that people are willing to make these risks, especially at this small entry point. And it's I don't know, we're finally at a time where quote unquote microtransactions actually kind of work across a broad range of services and spectrums. And so I'm ready to try this. I signed up as soon as I heard about it.
Well, let us know how it goes. I'll probably download it and try it out as well. Submit your stories to us, folks, and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Helps us put the show together every single day, and that is a look at the headlines. Jason, how are you going to stick around?
Yeah, I can stick around. If you
couple
want
minutes?
me here, I'm here. I got some time. Let's do it.
Jason Howell is a musician, and we got a music story.
I love it. I love it.
You can give us the music perspective on this.
I'll do my best.
Recorded music revenues rose 0.9% in 2015 to $7 billion. That's not huge, but it's the first rise in recorded music revenues since 2011. The wholesale value, which is the money that goes to rights holders, so you're taking the retail, the stores out of the equation, rose 0.8% to $4.95 billion. So it's still going to the record companies. Streaming is now the largest part of revenue at 34%, up 29% to $2.4 billion. So it was 29% in 2014. It's now 34%. Average revenue per subscriber is $112. Paid subscription and streaming revenue rose 52%. Downloads fell a little bit, 2.33 billion. Physical sales fell too, less though, 1.9 billion. And sound exchange revenue, that's the amount that streamers who do online radio stations and things like that have to pay, that rose to 803 million. Ad-supported streams rose, that's like Spotify's free level, and Pandora. That rose to 385 million. So obviously, Scott, everybody's happy, right? Like every business is booming.
I'll bet they're not, because they'll find a reason not to think this is a good thing. I am a little surprised that we're where we are as quick as we are. I thought it would take. I mean, everyone always talks about the idea of physical. The physical would go away. The digital would be on the rise, which it did. But then we quit downloading things and we started streaming them. And I thought, well, streaming is never going to be a significant part of digital music consumption. And I thought we'd be waiting till 2020 to hear, and I don't mean the show, I mean the year, to hear that there was a big shift towards streaming, and I was wrong. This feels early to me. It feels healthy for the industry, but I'm guessing that artists still are only getting a pittance compared to what they perhaps used to. I don't know if this helps independents very much. Like, there's still a lot of questions about whether or not this is a good ecosystem on the whole, or if it only benefits Taylor Swift every year and a half for a new album. I don't know.
Well, streaming definitely doesn't benefit her because she pulled all her albums from it.
That's a good point. Yeah. But I assume, and maybe Jason, you can pipe in on this. I assume most of this growth is coming from the diversification of who's offering services. Apple Music landed last year. Spotify had big growth. You're starting to see smaller services. YouTube Red, which combines with YouTube Music, and all of that seems like this is all contributing to the reason why we're seeing a larger percentage of music being streamed rather than bought and downloaded.
Yeah, it's like the transition away from how we've always felt about music, which is that we have to own it. And I've always been a big proponent of owning my music. I like to have my music library and everything. But even I, in the last year, have kind of come around to the convenience aspect of streaming versus owning. And I don't know, I'm torn when it comes to these topics, because I love the ability to just fire up a music service, find anything that I want there, more or less, and be able to listen to it immediately and not be tied into the decision of whether I need to buy it anymore, because I know it's always there at my fingertips. But if the artists that are making the music aren't getting paid fairly, then I do feel like something needs to change. Where the fault lies in that is always the question, right? Like, the recording industry wants to make sour grapes about the fact that while these numbers are very impressive from a streaming music perspective, the artists aren't getting paid. I have a hard time, truly believing that their interests lie more in the artists than they do themselves, and maybe they need to make some changes on the inside so that artists do get more. The other part of the argument is always, do artists make a lot of money when they're out on tour? Oh, well, it's okay if they don't make money on the music that they recorded and that's available through streaming, because they'll make it out on the road. And that doesn't necessarily work for a lot of independent artists. They pay through the teeth just for the chance to kind of take their show on the road, and so then they don't end up making money out there on the road either. So streaming services, by the way, and I can only speak from my own perspective, and definitely a lot of the stuff that I've read, really, I mean, like you said, benefit maybe the super incredibly large artists, maybe, but when it comes down to independent musicians, the reason they're there is exposure. They're not there to make money, and that kind of stinks when you put your heart and soul into something that you want to be your career and your livelihood, and it's very challenging.
Well, and there's a lot of perspective setting that needs to happen, because what the RIAA is trying to tell you is that, and this is a quote from Carrie Sherman, the consumption of music is skyrocketing, but revenues for creators have not kept pace. And he tries to point out that ad-supported streams grew 101%, while revenue only grew 31%. Vinyl sales were 416 million last year. Ad-supported streams were only 385 million. There's few things going on here. First of all, if artists aren't getting paid, and we just had the first revenue rise since 2011, then forget where the money's coming from. The artists should be getting paid more. There was a revenue rise. They're trying to vilify streaming because they don't like the deals they have with it. And particularly, they don't like the fact that AM and FM radio, since the 60s in the United States, have not had to pay anything. So they're accusing technology companies of doing a value grab by getting away with streaming these things for cheap. But it's the record companies who want to do the value grab too. They want a bigger slice of the revenues that are being generated. They see that the streaming revenue is now up to 34%. They see that the paid subscription is going up and they're getting a good cut of that. They want a cut of it all. They want to make more money. And if the creators aren't getting paid, that's the record business's problem. If the revenues are going up, if you're telling me the revenues are declining, which they are for CDs, which they are for downloads, then yeah, there's a problem with the business as a whole. But again, if we don't want to buy music, then we don't have to. There's not a law that says the record industry even has to exist. So what I think is most significant is none of the thing in this blog post said a thing about piracy. They are not fighting that. They're not even mentioning that anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, they may be perennially, always eternally fighting that, but they're not mentioning it anymore. And the idea that they only, I feel like, this drives me crazy. I feel like the only time we hear from these guys is when a segment of the market is in growth. And whether it was CDs and not tapes anymore, or tapes and not vinyl anymore, or digital and not physical anymore, and now streaming and not downloading anymore, they're upset at that. And not the fact that nobody's complaining now that the downloads are on the thing. The thing you used to complain was a lousy deal with Apple and Google and everybody else and Amazon, and now suddenly that's dropping. I don't see you jumping up and down for joy. You'd rather that number you hire too, if you're being honest. And that's the problems. I don't feel like the record industry is being honest. It feels like you know what it feels like? It feels like the old movie studio system where there was no such thing as independent artist directors and actors or anything like that. They were all owned by the studios, and they were traded like commodities, and they were treated like, like Jack Kirby for Marvel back in the day. He's just the guy that drew the stuff. Who needs him? He's not important. Don't pay him royalties. He's not what matters. What matters is how many people are buying these comic books. And you just forget to tie the artist to your bottom line. And it may be just pure perception on my point, but it feels like that there's a real disconnect between artists and management. It sounds like an eternal conversation. I feel like we've had it 1,000 times before, but it still feels relevant. And it doesn't matter what's big. As soon as holographic audio becomes the hot new thing and we're all getting it beamed into our brains, they'll complain about the deals they made with that.
Well, what's interesting is it all feeds itself, right? Like what you were talking about, Tom, as far as not complaining about piracy anymore. Why do you think that is? Because piracy for a lot of people was about one, saving money, and two, the convenience of the convenience that you didn't have to pay any money for it, but also the convenience for not having to go to the store to pick it up, whatever. It was easy to turn on your computer and download an album for free. Now a lot of those people don't have to do that because they have their peace of mind of paying $7, $8, $10 a month, and they get the same type of convenience. So instead of applauding kind of the fact that whole problem doesn't really exist in high numbers anymore, it's let's turn our focus on the next thing that we hate. So that we
average revenue per subscriber is up. So those people are paying more than they were last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And many of them are paying at all, period.
Yeah,
they weren't
exactly
prior.
Exactly. I do think that this has really become the record industry trying to get you on their side in negotiating a better deal. And granted, I get why they want a better deal with AM and FM radio, which doesn't pay them anything. I get that. I understand that. But honestly, over-the-air broadcasts are going away. If they can make it so that streaming online, those radio stations have to pay the sound exchange rates, then they're going to be getting some revenue there. The problem really is that you don't have the ability to come up with a new format that can make everybody replace their collection and goose those revenues again.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Music. It's the hot new thing. And I'll tell you what, all I know as a user is streaming's working for me. I really, really like it. I'm like Jason. I kind of became a bit of a convert. I still have my library. I still enjoy it. It's still what it is. And occasionally I'll buy an album, download it, whatever. But streaming's creeping in, and more I'm convinced that this is the way it's going to be until whatever the next little course correction is. And I need them all to knock it off and find a way to get along and get more money to artists so that we get better content, or else at some point we're going to be fighting over garbage. And I don't want garbage, or I'll be paying.
No, I disagree with that. The record industry has been saying that since the 50s. Like, oh, you got to give us more money or we'll be fighting over garbage. People make great music that is never picked up by the record companies. Yeah, the quality of our music will continue to be good. Because people don't just make music to make money. people who want to make money making music should have good opportunities to do that, but I don't think it's a human right. I think that that's just something we should, as a society, value, but the record companies aren't necessarily the best way to value it. When it comes down to it, what I would say is, if anyone's having a conversation with you about record industry and musicians, keep in mind, recorded music revenues rose 1%, 0.9% in 2015. So the music industry made $7 billion in the United States alone last year. It's not doing bad.
The chunk of change.
Yeah, they're not hurting. Don't let them pull at your heartstrings. If you're talking to somebody like Jason Howell, who's making music and wants to figure out a way to get paid to do it, that's different. That's not the record industry. That's musicians.
Yeah, and independent, like I said earlier, that independent musicians have it hard. They also, in some ways, have a really good opportunity to make money in different, in more non-traditional aspects of this industry, right? Like you don't only make a lot of money by selling billions of albums. You can I mean, take the show that I'm on, the show that you produce and have created, Tom. You can make a good amount of money as an independent artist if you have enough just charged up fans that follow you and don't mind spending $10 for your album and giving it directly to you, or buying it through iTunes. And sure, Apple takes a portion of that, but they still end up making a heck of a lot more than they do like 0.0019 cents per stream on Pandora. Which 180,000 plays, by the way, gets you $342 per month ish, somewhere around there. So, I mean, the numbers are skewed, but there are other ways, and I guess that's good for independent musicians.
Well, Jason Howell, thank you so much for dropping in, talking Blendle, talking music. Find Jason's good works at twit.tv/TNT, and also all about Android, twit.tv/AAA.
That's right. Yeah, we're having a lot of fun with Tech News Today, by the way, the show that you created. Yeah, so it's awesome. It's awesome to kind of, yes, we have created a lot of things. It's great to kind of take the torch and to carry it on. And Megan Maroney and I are just having a blast. And yeah, man, thanks for inviting me on. This is a lot of fun. Maybe we'll have you back on TNT next week sometime.
Yeah, I'm going to be on the 31st with Becky Worley while you guys get a much deserved vacation.
That's right. That's right. So thank you for that.
I think I get to be a guest on Monday with you.
Fantastic.
So I'll keep a nice chair warm for you, Tom. It's fine.
Right
very
on.
Good.
Hey, thank you guys. This is a lot of fun.
Tell Megan I said, hey, we'll get her on here too one of these days.
Sounds good. All right. Take care, you guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Our pick of the day comes from Ryan, who says, have you guys caught wind of Podcat? This is, by the way, Ryan Ozawa of Hawaii fame. In other words, his Twitter ID is Hawaii. Podcat is an IMD for podcasts. You go to podcat.com, and it makes it easy to see which guests have appeared on different shows, and you can follow them around as they make the rounds. And he says, hey, it was created by a guy here in Hawaii. Looks like they're adding guests whitelist style, and once added, they scan all the podcast episode descriptions for the names and make them active links.
That's pretty cool. That's really cool. I also
Podcat.
Podcat.com, like a pod and then a cat, like the kitty kind. Ryan's good guy. He's always a treat and fun to talk to and worthy of following on Twitter and all that stuff. In fact, he's kind of my window to Hawaii in a weird way, at least social media wise. So it's nice to see him involved and or at least calling this out. This is really cool.
Send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find more picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Quick messages. One I definitely want to get to. Michael, the history teacher, was among a few different people who pointed out that the FBI director in the United States serves a 10-year term, which is a remnant of the fear of Hoover's long run as director. The director is appointed by the president and approved by the Senate, but unlike cabinet positions, he does not automatically lose the job when a new president is elected. So the election does not have as much to do when James Comey will leave his job, as he has only been in the job for 2-ish years. So Patrick Beja's speculation about Comey stepping down carries a new weight now that we know this. I was saying, well, he might have to leave anyway because we got a new president coming in. Apparently not. He could fill out his term if he wanted to.
I had no idea that it was in effect a term limit of 10.
I didn't know this either. Yeah. So appreciate everybody who pointed this out. Somebody on Twitter even pointed out that Comey was appointed deputy attorney general in the Bush administration. So he has even served under both Republican and Democratic administrations, although his term as FBI director started under President Obama's administration. And then we got Nate Lankson of Text Message saying, hey, you guys were talking about Apple being rumored to look at acquiring British company Imagination Technologies. We were a little surprised that Apple actually said, no, we are not considering buying them. He said, in UK, its company takeover policy called the City Code on Takeovers and Mergers. It basically says that if a British publicly traded company's share price is significantly affected because it's under heavy rumor or speculation that it's being groomed for takeover, the potential buyer, in this case Apple, has to make a public statement either confirming or denying its position. It helps keep the UK stock market from exploding wildly for no reason. The other interesting thing is that once the company clarifies it's not going to buy the British firm, it's banned from trying to do so again for 6 months.
No, that's not true here at all, right? Like there can be rumors about takeovers or hostile or otherwise.
There are other rules about what you have to disclose and how you have to phrase things, but I don't think we have this specific rule of you have to comment on a rumor. Yeah.
Interesting. That's so I guess I'm guessing a lot of times that just squashes the rumor. Like, because a lot of times nobody's actually buying anyone, and they can just come out and say, yeah, we're not doing anything, and you're done. That's something about that I like. I don't know what it is I like about that, but I like it kind of.
Yeah, it made Apple go, yes, we were talking to them. We are no longer considering it, and now they can't go turn around tomorrow and buy them. So that's interesting as well. Thanks for that, Nate. Check out Text Message, TECH''S message. It's a great podcast with a UK perspective. And thank you, Scott Johnson, for joining us. As always, my friend, what are you up to these days?
Oh, man, what a great episode. Thank you for having me, as always. There's a lot going on, a million projects always in the works. If people want to find out what those things might be coming from me, they can visit frogpants.com, where a lot of that is detailed. Certainly the shows and all the access to that stuff is there. But if you'd want to know what's happening on a day-to-day basis, you can find me at Scott Johnson. And I would just make one plug, and that would be for the other show Tom and I do on the weekend called Current Geek every Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, lasts an hour. This weekend we have Odocta on, along with Jenny Josephson, who's going to sit in as our fourth chair. And it's always fun. It's just a great way to kind of wrap up the pop culture of the week and talk about the things we love, and we don't talk about it enough in other shows. So please come check us out, currentgeek.com for details.
It's your Week in Geek, except called Current Geek. I have so much fun doing it. It's the best way to kick off a weekend, believe me.
Great.
Thanks to everybody who supports the show and makes it possible for us to do this show every day. dailytechnewsshow.com/support. You can also support us on an ongoing basis at patreon.com/DTNS. If you like the show, we just say put a dollar value on it. Maybe it's $1, maybe it's a couple, and just give us that amount per month to make sure that the show keeps going. Patreon.com/DTNS. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 593-2459. Catch the show live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Justin Robert Young. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Okay, so I've done this once before, where I started the show, streaming it on Alpha Geek Radio, recording just fine, and didn't start the video.
Oh, no.
So this is another plea from me to you, Roger, and whoever else is on, to make sure you see that live thing going before we actually start the show in the future. Crap. But for those of you watching on video, I want to quickly cover the bits that you missed. So Scott, if you don't mind, we're just going to go through the headlines up to line 13. Line 13 is when we started streaming.
Yeah, totally do that.
All right, so here you go, folks. This is on video, what you didn't see. Google's rolling out updated features for Google Photos on iOS, Android, and the web. Smart albums will now automatically create the best photos and videos into a smart album after an event or trip. Unlike the similar story function you may be thinking about, smart albums have a more traditional grid of photos with maps and locations laid out between. You'll get a notification when a new smart album is ready, and you can add maps, drop pins, and add captions to the new or old albums.
Microsoft's research division launched a new chatbot named Tay. Tay mimics the online chatting behavior of 18 to 24-year-olds, complete with emojis and banter. According to Microsoft researcher Kat London, Tay is, quote, designed to be entertainment. Tay can tell jokes, stories, play games, comment on photos, or read your horoscope. If you're interested in what conversation you can have, you can go over to tay.ai on Kik, GroupMe, or Twitter. Twitter.
And Intel's 10K annual report filing with the US SEC indicates they're moving away from the Tick-Tock cycle of chip rollouts. If you don't know what that is, the Tick is usually the smaller lithographic process. That's when you hear them say, we've gone from 22 nanometers to 14 nanometers. And the Tock is the upgraded microarchitecture. That's when they change the microarchitecture and they deliver better performance, but on the same lithographic process. Still 14 nanometers, but better. The new rhythm is going to be 3 parts: process, architecture, then optimization. And that has, in fact, happened with the 14 nanometer node that was used for Broadwell and Skylake and now for Kaby Lake. The next process will be 10 nanometer nodes expected in the second half of 2017. Now, competition-wise, there's wondering if Intel slowing down this procedure will mean they get passed for the first time. Intel's saying we're just not getting enough yields out of these smaller processes to keep going at the pace we were at. Global Foundries has yet to launch 14 nanometer parts into products, so they may stay on the Intel pace. But Ars Technica reports that IBM demonstrated a 7 nanometer chip, and TSMC may introduce a 7 nanometer chip in 2018, thanks to Skyboard 13 for submitting this on the subreddit.
Do I still get to do 13?
I mean, you could do it again if you want.
I'm going to do it. The video site Pornhub is partnering with Badoink VR to launch a new VR section on the Pornhub website. The site is offering free cardboard VR goggles to its users. There you go.
And this is why I was so distracted when you started talking about that story, because I realized right at that point that I wasn't streaming the video.
Oh, that's amazing.
You thought I was just uncomfortable with Pornhub, but it wasn't just that.
I like the idea that it's explicitly about video, and that reminded you to start video. I think. That's
actually, it was someone in the chat room that said it.
Oh, okay.
Like, you're not streaming on YouTube. I think it was Beatmaster, maybe. I was like,
I've done similar things. So yeah, I will. From now on, I will make a point of annoying you every Wednesday anyway.
Yeah, just help me keep an eye out. I've only done it twice in 2.5 years, 2 years and 3 months. So hopefully I won't do it again. But what do we got for titles?
Oh, that's some good ones. Buzz Daily Tech News Today Out Loud.
What's your favorite?
I like the second one, which is Tick-Tock. Intel ran out the clock.
That made Scott laugh. I'm in.
You choke.
You can go ahead and read more of them, but I'm just going to go with that one for now.
All right, and then there's Nobody's Going to Miss the Extra Finger from TVZ Gone.
That one's pretty good.
All right, so back to the Wii jokes. Wii U stop production. Nintendo no. They added an extra letter between the D and the O in Nintendo's name. The record industry playing the same old song. I guess that's kind of like a Jeopardy question. Why didn't I get your mass social media post? I'm AI-in your context, like I-in.
Oh, that's like a Tay Allen Tay. Got it. Yeah.
It's pretty good, but it's long.
Pretty good, yeah.
Porn VR should have seen that coming. I'll be in my VR bunk. Okay, this is kind of gross, but sort of funny. Danger VR may cause hairy palms.
Yeah.
Glad I'm going with TikTok. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you picked the right one.
Yeah, the rest of it might be a little too adult.
TikTok, Intel ran out.
I'm amazed no one did a Kesha reference.
I know.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Intel saves $.
Oh, she got rid of that though.
Yeah, I know. She's had a hard time, poor thing.
Yeah, it's been that whole
With the alcohol and the pills.
No, not the alcohol and the pills, although that she's recovering from. I'm talking about her producer.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't know anything about her producer. Is she a total jerk?
Rape case, and they won't let her out of the contract. It's real bad. It's miserable. That whole thing is miserable.
Ugh. That just doesn't sound pleasant at all.
It's not.
I mean, I would like to ask someone who's in the industry, is that more often the case, or is that just kind of the rare, where you just have an incident that
Yeah, because you always hear rumors like that. It's the casting couch and the whatever in Hollywood and the it's just nothing but the seedy underbelly constantly, and all we see is red carpet and glitz. Glitz is the word I meant. And I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing it's. I mean, since we don't know, it's just imagination, so people can think whatever they want. But it can't all be TMZ all the time. It can't be, right?
Yeah, but see, every time I talk to someone in the industry, that's the only stories they have, right? Because those are the ones that people remember, the outrageous ones. No one remembers, yeah, we went to Olive Garden, had a nice dinner, talked about a new movie.
Yeah, but the only remembrance I have of my time when I worked at Chi-Chi's in high school was that our dishwasher, we had a dishwasher, his name was Angel, and he pooped in the beans once. And that's all anyone talks about.
Wait a minute. Wait.
Yeah.
Wait, is Angel a real person or no?
No, real guy. He pooped in the beans because he was upset. He was mad at management for something. I can't remember what the deal was.
Because Tom and I heard a similar story about a Taco Bell from a friend in email. So I'm wondering, is this just one of those urban legends that gets passed around?
No, this was actual dude who got actual arrested. They shut down the restaurant for actual week, like while I worked there. It was bad. It was a rough 1987 or 8.
Huh. I wonder if that story that gets passed around is actually Chi-Chi's and not Taco. Not a fast food Mexican place.
Or it was a copycat crime.
It could have been. I don't know. But yeah, it was bad. And there's no Chi-Chi's anymore, so.
A celebration of food.
I remember one guy got so mad at his boss. He was from the Midwest. And during the winter, he rubbed Vaseline all over the windshield. You wouldn't be, the person driving home couldn't see, even if you used your wipers, you wouldn't be able to see anything. It's that's what if that guy got in an accident? You'd have been totally in prison.
Yeah. We all sorts of dumb things back then.
Although there was that funny story from Cleveland about that guy pooping on car hoods in that Cleveland neighborhood or something. Remember?
Now I feel like I'm on the morning stream.
Yeah, that's a total TMS story. Actually, we talked.
No, it's a perfectly the right thing to talk to Scott about. I don't mean to perpetuate your stereotype, Scott, but you do sort of enjoy those stories, don't you?
Well, they crack me up. I find it funny that anybody anywhere, let alone Cleveland, would ever do this to anyone's car. For whatever reason, it's that kind of behavior that.
They got a photo of the guy with his pants and squat, and he has that look turning around the deer in the headlights. I've been caught. I think when I posted that story on Facebook, a friend of mine commented on the story. It's no, those are his cars now.
Yeah. He gets to keep them. Territory. That's amazing. I just like the guy in the tree in Seattle. I'm fascinated by extreme human behavior. I don't know. I have a problem.
Well, and here's the thing about that. I think it is fascinating when people do things, and the guy in the tree for it's just very, very fascinating. But what happens, and I actually think the internet is making it less of an issue, even though it's shining a bright light on it, so it feels like it's worse, is that people misunderstand it, or they hear an exaggerated version of it that doesn't explain what's really going on sometimes, or it's just urban legend. It's not actually true. And that used to be the thing where it's you get those crazy stories on morning shows on radio, and it turned out half of them weren't true, or they were just totally exaggerated, or worse, just trumped up into something that was actually a sad story that they were making into a funny story. I think that happens less now because we have so many people going, well, hold on a minute. That didn't happen at a Taco Bell. That happened at a Chi-Chi's, and I was there. Let me tell you, it actually is causing us to understand what are the actual aberrations and what are the things that didn't happen or actually are fairly normal. It's just maybe you didn't encounter it before, but they happen frequently.
Yeah. No,
so the guy in the tree, things like that have happened before, but they're pretty rare. That is a pretty unusual thing.
Yeah.
He wasn't a protester or nothing. I remember guys hanging up on trees to protest logging of
I don't think they know yet. I think they know yet. It's interesting though. He's in Seattle, so maybe it's Pacific Northwest logging. But I don't think they know. He's come down, and now they're talking to him and making sure he's okay. He was up there for 24 hours, a whole day.
Yeah, it could have been a logging thing.
And it wasn't a platform or a nice little hut up there. It's just him.
Usually, the people that go up to tree to protest logging or environmental protests prepare themselves.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna do any of that, and I probably won't be eating at Chi-Chi's ever again.
Yeah, don't ever.
I don't think you can. It's not around anymore, right?
They're gone.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, I saw some terrible things when I worked there. Some very terrible things.
Not Chili's. Are you thinking of Chili's, Roger? Chili's
No,
is
no.
still around.
Chi-Chi's.
No, Chi-Chi's
Sure.
gone.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah.
bankruptcy.
Yeah, they're out.
Bankruptcy.
Let's just say this: that if you at the store we were at, if you brought your steak back because you didn't think it was well done enough, our guy on the grill would put it on the floor first and then cook it more.
What?
Yeah, it was bad. I'm not surprised they're gone. They should be gone. Like there was bad stuff, and I remember going to somebody and saying, I don't want to like get beat up in the parking lot or something, so maybe keep this anonymous. But I watched so and so, who was mad because the guy's steak was too rare, put it on the ground, flip it over, and put it on the ground again, and then grill it, and then send it back. And they said, all right, let's see, we'll do something about it, and we'll keep you out of it. I said, okay, great. And the guy it was still there. He was, he worked there the entire time until I left. Like it was weird. That was a bad place.
Just you know what? You don't do that to people's food ever. My parents have had super jerky customers, and no, you don't do that. I mean, you might charge them more or something just because they're being like overly excessive, especially when they bring in their own like steak or fish. Say, can you cook this? It's like, all right.
That's happened at your parents' restaurant?
Yeah. People bring they
go into a seafood restaurant, brought their own seafood.
Yes. That happens more often than you would think.
Wow.
But please put that sauce you guys use. Like, all right.
I could see that being a restaurant concept, right? Where like, hey, well, it's BYOF or whatever. But I would never go into a restaurant that didn't advertise that as a service. That's crazy.
Well, Roger, when you say it happens more than you'd think, I would have thought one time would be more than I would think. Like that's insane to me. That sounds crazy.
I mean, what sucks is then you gotta, unless they actually really good at filleting the fish, which sometimes they're not, you gotta make sure that you get the rest of the bones out because you don't want. Because if something happens to it, you're at fault.
Well, that's the other thing, right? You don't know how that fish was handled before it got to the restaurant.
Yeah. So
I don't know if that would even that could violate health codes, couldn't it?
Generally, it only happens with. I'm not gonna go too far into it, but really good customers, I guess. So, but generally there's an understanding. If this has red tide in it, not our fault.
Yeah.
I guess it's not too different from the oyster place up in Northern California where you can actually catch your own oysters and then they'll grill them for you.
I love oysters. I love clams even more.
Oh, gross. I hate both. But
shuck 'em.
Still, though, like the idea of, I don't know, bringing in your own stuff. I'm going to go to McDonald's today with a little patty of red meat and say, look, can you put this in a bun? And, I'm like,
that's actually probably a good idea. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like just from like a crowd awareness, social responsibility position, it just is the strangest thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that? You know what they're there for. Make it at home, you lazy butt. If you're going to eat your own food, don't take it somewhere. That annoys me. It really annoys me. I have empathy for your parents. And I don't even know them. I have to have dealt with that even once. That's really annoying. Anyway,
such is life.
Yeah.
Aye, it is.
Such is life.
Such is life. Well, shoot. SoundCloud is just not wanting to process the file today.
TMS was slow with that. It finally went through, but I had to keep hitting. Well, so here's what I did. I kept hitting save, and it would pop out as if it wasn't saved. Maybe that's doing that to you. I don't know. But when it finished and looked like it was done processing, but everything was sort of hanging there waiting for me to hit save again, it still didn't matter. It wouldn't do it. So what I did is when I went and checked the page, it had indeed posted. It just didn't do the album art. And so I edited the post, put album art in it, and otherwise everything was the same. Closed the page that was uploading. It said, "Are you sure you want to shut this down? There's still something going on." And I said, "Yes," and it all worked. So I don't know if that's what yours is doing or not, but it was being real fruity this morning, so maybe something's up.
No, I was able to save it. It's just not. It's just still processing forever.
It's related.
Forever processing. So much processing.
Actually, I haven't had any issues for a long time there, but today was weird.
Yeah, I must have.
The Germans.
Must be the Germans.
Yeah. You ever make your file be very slow?
Is that even German?
Django? I don't know. I'm terrible at German accent, but I like
Django's German.
Is she?
Well, she's a Rottweiler. That's a German breed, isn't it?
Yeah. It was Christoph Waltz talking to your dog, saying, Django, we must leave this town now.
That makes me think of the Clash of Clans advertisement that played before Force Awakens.
Oh, right.
With what's his name? That
with
does
James
the
Corden and Christoph Waltz.
Yeah.
And then that makes me think of Clash Royale,
which is really good, by the way.
which I've been playing way too much of.
Yeah, that game. What the crap? Why is
Are
that?
you in a clan?
No, there's an AIE one, and I thought about joining it, but I feel like I'm so bad I haven't joined anything yet.
I want to join a clan.
Maybe we should start our own clan.
I would like for someone to remember that episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation where everyone on the crew gets really wrapped up in this weird VR game that they're so addicted to they can't do it.
The cones and the little frisbee things. Yeah,
like it's like a 25th century of putting the ball in the cup or whatever.
Right, and they get this little shiver of like
so
reward.
Someone should edit in Clash of Clans or something, or like Farmville or something. So it's like a little more exciting than watching discs go down a bunch of spiral cones or something.
Dumb episode, but the concept was pretty spot on, I think. I don't know. It was Ashley Judd too, was the girl, by the way, in that episode. Her and Wesley getting all.
That was Ashley Judd, for real.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. One of her earliest roles. It's an interesting episode. Not recently. It's really poorly done, but it's, as usual, Star Trek can be really, really thoughtful and
execute poorly.
Yeah, and just don't have the budget or the time or the idea of how to best portray what they're trying to say. But the core idea is always kind of cool, no matter
Just
what.
don't show the game. Just don't show the game. You got people there with their eyeballs moving.
Yeah, you know what? That would have been better. Imagination would have been more important there.
But you ruined it by doing like really? This is the game that has everyone enraptured on a ship of 1,000 people?
Yeah, in the 23rd century, you got like Lawnmower Man graphic cone with a frisbee flying in it, and everyone going, it was terrible. It was terrible.
I didn't actually much care for their music either.
You know what? I'm a big Goldsmith fan, but only on the themes. I guess he didn't do all the interstitial stuff, though. I don't know. I don't like. I know what you're talking about. There's a thing in Star Trek where it's the same pattern of they'll start a scene with and then Picard going Captain's log something. There are 4 lights, right? And then you go in and start talking and doing your thing. And then
Captain's log. There are still 4 lights.
To me, it's it's like the elevator music equivalent of mood music.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just like there's nothing distinguishing about it.
Yeah.
No, I mean I understand budgets are tight and stuff, but they built a living room for the bridge of the Enterprise. I think you could have squeezed out a little more for a guy with a synth or maybe a couple of synths.
They were really sure that carpeted flooring, and like carpeted walls and wood panels. They were sure that was going to be the.
Maybe it'll come back. Things do go in cycles.
Yeah.
I know they made it that way because it's easier to get all the angles and camera angles that you need to shoot on the bridge, and it's easier when you have all that space because the space isn't meant for the fictional crew; it's meant for the camera crew.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. It did pick up a little better, but Babylon 5 had really good music.
I agree.
They were on a tight budget too.
Also had really cool sets as well. I thought the sets hold up. Like you look at them now, and they still that kind of Battlestar Galactica modern
used kind of industrial feel.
And that seemed weird at the time, but I think it stood the test of time.
So what's amazing is they actually had very few sets. They just reused a lot of the wall panels, and you don't really notice it until like someone tells you, and you start trying to look for it. But it was like a really good show cranked out with, it wasn't their budget wasn't as big as definitely Star Trek in the 3rd season and moving forward.
Their effects budget was garbage. It was a great show, man.
Yeah. I got used to the graphics.
Yeah, it was all right. It's the 90s. The 90s.
Yeah, once you get into the fight sequences, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
You got to admit, you got like hundreds of ships flying around.
Everybody talks about new science fiction shows that deserve to be rebooted and put on TV and whatever. I could totally go for like a revitalization of that series. If it's in the hands, it'd be pretty neat.
It was The story arc was great. I really liked it. It's like wait, it's those guys. No, it's that guy. No, wait a minute.
Mhm.
Everyone's been being played.
Yep. Love it. Also, one of my favorite pilots we watched on autopilot, Tom. I enjoyed that.
Oh, Babylon 5? Yeah.
Of all the pilots we did, it was one of my faves.
All right. Well, there you go. Bonus extra long video to make up for the fact that we shorted you at the beginning of the show. And if you really want everything from the beginning of the show, check out the audio file. Or you can actually download, if you have access to the treasure chest on Patreon, you can get the full pre and post show in audio format as well. I am going to log us off. Thanks everybody for watching.
Thanks, everyone.